By the way, if you want.
We are live on Facebook.
This is the what do we call it? The
chase period.
Chase period.
You don't know if everything's right yet.
It's the chase period part of the video, everybody on Facebook. Just so you guys know, that's where we get to talk smack about Chase, because I guarantee you that nothing he's doing is going to work. None of these feeds are going to work. None of the volume's going to work, and he's going to talk too much.
Au contraire, we are live.
Oh my God, Chase. Your apparel today is amazing.
You know, I try. I really go above and beyond.
Let me have a piece of that.
I had some designers work with me, you know.
Wait, hold on a second. I got you in the shot. Perfect.
You got my head. Make sure you get all this.
I've got the bottom
Justin.
Of your chin only.
People want to see this, Justin.
You know, most of your boyfriends like the chin. That's it.
I was thinking about making this to a belly shirt. What do you guys think? Comment down below.
Totally fit. If that was a belly shirt, dude, seriously, that would fit you perfect. That's a yes. That's a Some people actually were asking if you're gay. Just so you guys know,
I am very happy.
He's not, but we question it every day. It could change. Also, somebody asked me if Chase is my son, and I think that's because nobody understands or believes that I would keep him with all the things he screws up around here if he wasn't related to me. But oh my God, no, he is not.
Can I call you Papa?
No, please, shush yourself. All right. You guys, thanks for tuning in. We are at the race shop today because we're actually getting ready for not Mint.
Silver State.
Here I am forgetting what race. Silver State 300. Car is tested. We've got new wheels and tires on it for contingency, and it's getting loaded up in the trailer tomorrow. And we're loading up chase trucks tomorrow too. But that is not what we're here to talk about today. It's just that we were working on race cars. So since we were working on race cars, we thought maybe it would be a good time to show you guys a little bit of welding and fabrication. We get a lot of questions about it. People are constantly asking the difference. Should I run DOM or should I run chromoly tubing, or what's MIG welding, what's TIG welding, what's all those things. So we'll kind of go over that with you guys just as quick as we possibly can, because honestly I think welding's a little bit boring, so if you can throw out some questions that are fun, we'll do it. To my right, that is a wire feed welder, which is also called a MIG welder. Don't ask me what MIG stands for, I forget. I used to know when I was younger, but not anymore. Metal inert gas. Thank you, Darren.
I thought it was men igniting gas.
Hashtag no chase. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. So now that we've gone over that, we've got a TIG machine on the left. TIG machine is obviously bigger and more badass. It's pretty much what you're going to want to do if you are a serious fabricator for serious race cars. And Darren, what does TIG stand for? Because I forgot.
Tungsten inert gas.
Tungsten inert gas. So I'll show you the difference. You guys will get it pretty quick. Most cars or most fabrication is done with a MIG welder. It's easy. You basically set your heat and your wire feed, pull the trigger, and you go. That could be anything from outside, like building fences, to building workbenches, things like that. It can even be used to build quality race cars and cages. We see a lot of people do it. You have to be good at it, because you can overheat the part really easy with a MIG welder, and you don't want to overheat materials that can become brittle and crack. So TIG welder is a little bit more complicated, takes a little bit more practice and certainly a little bit more dexterity to weld, but the welds are much nicer dimes, that kind of stuff. So let's just grab a helmet and we'll weld something with the MIG welder. So full disclosure, I haven't welded anything in at least a year. Probably more.
Come on, Justin, it's like riding a bike.
Well, we'll find out here really quick. I think this is my helmet. If not, it'll fall right. Nope, it's not. Wrong size. All right, there we go. We'll find out. So first thing we're gonna do is grab a MIG welder. Take a look at this tip. Out the tip, you got wire. I'm pulling the trigger, and it's gonna feed wire into this. Power also comes into this wire. No, you don't get zapped if you got your finger on it. You have to touch the ground at the same time. Inside of there is gas that's coming out. Gas pressure. This is a CO2 argon mix. I'm just going to cut that off. There we go. Now it's down to length. So let's just grab something as if you were welding a fence or a workbench. Got some square material. I'm going to tack it together so I can hit it in a second. 1, 2. Now that the part's held, we'll go ahead and weld this rip past. Let's see if I can do this again. One more.
So good for my camera sensor.
Oh, this is gonna tip over here.
Maybe a little bit on the hot side, but let's let that cool off. So that is a MIG weld. The wire is being added mechanically for you according to the speed that you're setting on the machine. The power level is also determined by how you set that level on the machine. You can turn it up, you can turn it down, so if you've got thicker material, like for instance we get away from this thin stuff and come over here to get a couple pieces of angle iron, which are common, super inexpensive, cheap. Now when it comes to race car stuff, we really don't want to use this. This is mild steel. It's also what's called hot roll. It's got a lot of scale on it. You can see a big difference between the cut edge that's really nice and shiny and the outside edge. What's happened is when this is made, it's extruded like Play-Doh out of a die, and it's red hot, and it burns the oxygen on the outside and creates heavy, hot, hard scale on the outside.
Quick question
Yeah,
from
hit
Jake
it.
Barner. Does it make it stronger if you quickly cool it?
So if you quickly cool metals, all metals are different. If you quickly cool aluminum, then it's going to make it really hard. If you quickly cool steel, that does not make it any harder. Typically, it's going to add a lot of stress to it. All the molecules are going to cool off quickly. They're going to have a lot of bind and load, and it's not typically good. Letting material, especially steel or carbon steels, cool off slowly is much better. So if it's something you don't care about, like a fence or a workbench, go for it. But if it's roll cages, then I'd let it cool off for some time. So I'm going to tack this together and show you guys a little bit a different weld than what we just did. Okay, so while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk to you about it. What I'm doing is first, I'm going to hold it down. You guys are going to ask me about this tool here in a minute, watch. What I'm doing is I'm rotating the head of this wire feed back and forth, and I'm pulling it back towards me. Which creates a little bit of what you would call dimes. I mean, wire feed is, I'm not a very good wire feed guy, trust me, but especially right now. Darren, can you turn up the heat just a little bit?
Rogue 73 said, what's that tool for?
All right, here's the tool. See this? This was imparted upon me by somebody that's been welding for probably 50 years, and he gave me this idea about 25 years ago. It's the coolest thing ever. You know why? Because it not only is it square, it'll hold your material exactly where you want it, perfectly square. It's heavy, it can hold the material down. It can come over here, and it can hold the material up. If you've got something with a hole in it, let's just say you wanted to hold this straight up, then that'll fit in any hole. You can flip it over, and you can hang stuff on it if you want to do things. So this kind of is a catch-all. It's a third hand, basically, when you're welding, and you always need somebody else holding the part still. Go ahead, use that advice. I had somebody give me that advice when I was younger, so it's on you. You guys make one yourself.
We're gonna have to make a name for that and put it in our race encyclopedia.
Yeah, what would you call that thing? Let's come up with something cool for it right now. What's that? All right, so what I'm going to do now, instead of pulling the weld towards me, I'm going to actually push the weld away. And different welding schools are going to teach you different things. I never went to welding school.
I'm sure there's a very smart reason for pushing it versus pulling it.
And all you certified welders are going to come on here and they're going to give me the reason for that. I'm not going to give you the reason for that. But it just depends on the material if you want to actually pull it or push it. Maybe you're going uphill, maybe you're going downhill. That might be a big difference. You guys got something you can clarify all those things for me? Nothing, Mitch?
We got some great names coming up for that tool.
Matt Burke said Chase's third hand.
Chase's third hand. Will we call that the stranger?
I like Mega Dirt Diesel, the third
The third leg.
Third leg.
Third leg, yeah, Trace doesn't have one of those.
Matt Burke also said he can't hear you when you are welding, so I don't know.
All right, so I won't talk when I'm welding anymore, you guys. Besides, wire feeding is really boring and not that cool. Let's get into the cool stuff like what we would use on race cars. Darren, you got a question?
No, that was just welding, pushing the weld gets better penetration than pulling.
Pushing the weld gets better penetration than pulling. All right, I'll go with that because I'm not a wire feed guy. Clearly, you can see that I'm not. But let's get into a TIG machine. So a TIG machine is a little bit more complicated, a whole lot cooler, and especially if you're doing race car stuff, you guys are doing some custom fabrication, this is the machine that basically is giving you the perfect dimes that everybody likes to see and show off when it comes to welding.
Ooh, perfect dimes. I like
Dimes.
that.
So let's get on to that. What I'll do is the same thing we were doing before, and let's grab 2 flat straps and tack these together real quick. I'm just putting them together really fast with power. I'm not adding any rod, you guys. This is literally just flashing the heat off the tip of the tungsten and melting these 2 parts together. Gas is coming out of this cup assembly. This is actually tungsten material we've sharpened, and all the power is coming off of that. What you do, I'm not going to flash you, but what you do is get that tungsten close to the material and hopefully evenly aimed between the 2 parts as you add power. Once you do that, then you get the material properly melted, and at that moment you're going to add some rod. The rod and the heat as you move along is where you're getting that dime look. The shininess of the weld has to do with the cleanliness of the material and how much gas you're putting to it. So more gas for a longer period of time, and you get a cleaner weld. And if you have really clean material, then you might get a much cleaner weld. So what I'm gonna do, see how bad I am after about a year. Ready?
We got Team YXE in the building. What's up, guys?
Team YXZ, how are you guys doing? I guess you probably can't hear me while I'm welding, but
All right, let's see how my TIG work is. What I'm doing is I'm holding this on the weld after the fact for post-flow time, and it's cooling the weld down so you don't have a hot weld at the end. There you go. I'm not sure if you guys can see that on the camera or not.
I see a few dimes in there. Those
All
are
right,
nice.
tell you what, that was really easy. Let's make this stuff a little bigger so you can see it. I'm gonna change the weld up a lot, and let's go for a double pass. So a double pass is when you're actually stitching dimes together, one on top, one on the bottom. The reason for doing a double pass is to give more material inside that weld area for strength. Because if you throw a little tiny weld on some really thick tubing, then the tubing is much stronger than the weld. If you've got really thick tubing, then it's a good idea to throw a really thick weld to equal the strength of the wall thickness of the tube. Didn't let that sit long enough. I don't know if you can see that, Chase.
I see the bumps, the dimes on the double
So
pass.
there's a double stitch. Now what I've been doing is pulsing the machine. So now I'm not going to pulse it. What I'm going to do is just come up to a certain temp, and I'm going to leave it there, and I'm just pulling the tungsten along and adding material. It's just a different way of doing it. Personally, I don't like pulling the same speed and the same temperature. There's a lot of people that like either way, pulsing or consistent temp. I personally think that you can get a lot deeper penetration inside the weld if you're able to pulse it. The trick though is you don't want to have a gap between your pulse and where you've pulled it to the next dime. You want all of those dimes to have the same penetration. So pulsing close to each other is very important.
520 side by side. Talking about fabrication, are we going to see shock therapy radius rod plates?
So yeah, the answer is yes. We are actually going to be doing pull plates, radius rod plates here really soon. We're going to have tie rods and a few other things. But we're not going to be making our control arms or long travel kits. We're going to be making things that you can bolt on pretty easy. How about a front shock bulkhead plate for an X3? We're going to be doing that. What do you got?
I had a question here that's asked if that was stainless steel rod. And
So,
what are the different types of filler wire?
okay, so this is not stainless steel rod that I'm using right now. It's a general filler rod for carbon steel. It's a 70S too. 70S is super common. You can weld mild steel with it. The ends of these will actually show you on the flat surface. They'll have numbers inside of them and it'll tell you what it is. 70S is just a really good tensile strength for carbon and also mild steels. Stainless rod would be a lot cleaner. Stainless rod you can use when you're welding mild steel if you want to. It's not that big of a problem. When you start getting into high nickel rod needs to have good heat monitoring. So if the rest of the part isn't as hot as the weld, or if you have preheated the part, you can get cracking with high nickel rod. If you're welding exotic materials like Hastelloy or Inconel, then you better know what you're doing and you better be welding it in a vacuum. Same with titanium. Titanium should be welded in a vacuum or at least purged. We're not doing any purging right now. I'm gonna make this one really quick and see if I can't make it to where I can. We won't burn it up or blue it up. I'm gonna let that gas sit on that for a little longer this time, Chase. See if I can't cool it off before you look at it. So this one I'm gonna do a second time. If you guys make a mistake, I'm gonna do one on purpose, all right? So you've got a couple good dimes and then you missed one. You can see that I got a couple dimes and then I got one hole. If you want to make that look good, you can come back and weld this a second time. The only thing that's wrong with that is you shouldn't do it over and over and get the thing too hot. You can come back and second weld things all day long if you let it cool off, so that the second round of heat doesn't overheat the material. So all I did was, I'm just welding right over the top of the existing weld with not very much filler rod to make sure we get what we want. To make sure that it looks good. If you guys aren't trying to make stuff look good when you're fabricating, you should really think about it hard, because people are going to be looking at everything you do. It better look good. It's a reflection of how you work. So that last weld is actually 2 welds, and I was fixing a purposeful mistake. What do you got, Mitch?
Autopilot MT, what not to do when welding, the most common mistakes.
Most common mistakes when welding, especially when TIG welding, would be an undercut. So you've got way too much power and you're not putting in enough rod. That way it's actually pulling material away from your filler, like your tube or your plate, and that creates a very weak weld because you pulled a lot of the wall thickness away from the tube. So don't overheat it and underfill it. You're much better off with a bigger weld when it comes to TIGging than you are with something too small. What else, Darren? What's common?
Tim Abner, if you're having trouble getting a hold of us on the phone, please do give us another call back. And if you leave us your number in the direct messages on Instagram, we will promptly get back to you. We are experiencing a high number of phone calls.
Yeah, if you guys are calling us up in the front showroom, we've got 7 people up there right now, and if they're not answering the phone, the only reason would be they're on their lunch break, or we actually have 7 people on the phone at that moment. So when it comes to tubing, a perfect cope or a perfect fit or a notch is super important. Whenever you have a gap in the material and you weld over it, that's where pulling occurs. So if you're starting to fill up giant holes, then you're going to find this one's going to cool off and it's going to pull this one together, and this one's going to pull this one together. If all of the notches are perfect, you can just about weld the whole thing together and not have it move, or at least it isn't going to move very much. So perfect notches are a really good idea. I'll throw one on throw a weld on the tube real quick. Let that sit there for a little bit, cool off. Here you go, Chase.
Ooh.
See if you can see any of that.
Now
So
those
tubes are cool. But if you've got a good notch and a good fit, it sure is nice to weld. It's a lot easier to do, a lot prettier, no undercut, really no worries. It makes fabricating a lot quicker. You guys have any more questions before I go to aluminum?
Team YXZ, good luck this week at the SS300 from Northwest Peoria.
Thank you guys, really appreciate that. We're excited to go racing again just like everybody else with all the racing being shut off. So car's perfect, I think we're prepped and hopefully we make a good showing.
One quick off-subject question. Jake Barner, are the AZ UTV dealers out of inventory as well? Time to sell my old Razor.
Yeah, most of the dealers in Arizona are out of inventory and the used market has gone through the roof. I know a lot of people that have sold cars that are worth 20 grand for 28 in 10 minutes as soon as it's up because people are looking for cars.
Also, a lot of people saying you should patent your third finger, third leg, whatever we want to call it.
Thank you very much. You got high freak on that machine? Got it. All right.
I have a question here.
Oh, what you got, Darren?
Brett Belladernerola, please address what I refer to as TIG brazing, where people just melt rod and drip it on the base metal without melting to the base metal first. I'm a certified welding instructor and I see this a lot when testing people.
So, I am in no way, shape, or form as qualified as you when it comes to that. You are a welding instructor. But what I think that you're getting at, let me turn this back to steel, is that people are basically just dripping filler material on top. So let me just do that really quick. What I'm doing is I'm very underheated. It's actually low heat, too low, and the only thing that happens is you end up melting the rod and it just sits on top of the base metal. It might be hard to see you guys because this camera's a bitch and when it comes to close-up, but right here I laid it in where it melted decent, and right up here it just sat on top of the material and it actually didn't come inside and get penetration at all with the base metal. A lot of people don't want to overheat it, so they go too cold and just end up dripping, like he was saying, dripping this rod onto the material and just sits on top of it. I mean, I can pretty much take this with a chisel and I can chisel that right off. It didn't actually do much. So the right way to do it is a little bit more heat and a little bit more rod. I'll do it right next to it where you're getting penetration but you're not burning in or burning through.
I've had this problem before, Justin. The heat's there, but you're not penetrating.
Yeah, Chase. Oh my God. Penetration jokes while welding. I should have known.
You're welcome.
Honestly, should have known.
You're welcome.
So, not very pretty, but this is actually just higher heat. I didn't do it on purpose to try and create dimes. I was just trying to show you how it actually blends in because it's melted through as opposed to sitting on top. Hopefully that helps out what you were talking about, Darren, and what he was asking about. Can you turn that to AC? All right, guys, so let's change over to aluminum. When it comes to a TIG machine, the only difference between welding with aluminum and steel is you go from DC power to AC power, which is more power, and you go to a high frequency start. Typically, most of these machines have a high frequency start. Is basically a little bit of static electricity off the tip of this so that it jumps the power without burning the parts or blowing holes in the material. This machine has high freq automatic, if I'm not mistaken, so I don't have to go and turn it on. Again, I'm going to use my handy dandy Chase's third leg. And I'm just going to get this stuck for a second. You guys are going to hear a lot louder. So all I'm doing is getting this to where it's going to stick so we can weld it okay, so it's not going to warp on us. Alright. So here's the thing about aluminum, you guys. If you guys are welding some thick aluminum, it's a really good idea to preheat it. It doesn't like to weld if it's cold. So I'm just giving this a little bit of heat to make life easy. If you're welding thin aluminum, you don't have to preheat it because it heats up so quick anyway. Another reason to preheat aluminum is so that you don't have a lot of warpage, because aluminum will tend to warp a lot more than most metals. And aluminum is a lot harder to weld for a novice. If you guys are just learning this stuff, I wouldn't suggest it right off the get-go. There you go.
Beautiful.
Not bad for about a year of no practice.
Beautiful.
I don't think I've touched aluminum in 3 years.
I mean, I've seen better.
Yeah, around this shop you're going to see better everywhere. That's for sure.
Sorry, liar, liar.
All right. I'm not sure if there's anything else I can show you on this stuff. If you guys got questions, then go ahead and shoot. We do have some thin sheet metal we could dick with, but I'm not sure if you guys would like to see that or not.
Talking about heat, how does, let's say, like cryo heat affect certain parts for the average consumer, not only in transmissions, but everyday parts for any UTV?
Actually, that's a really good question. We had a quick question about that maybe a week or two ago, and I think that I didn't spend enough time on that. So cryo heat, what happens there is you're freezing a part to really cold temperatures. And I'm gonna miss this, but it's probably about negative 280, 260. When you take a part and you do that, you're taking a part and letting it relax all of its molecules so that it's more stable and strong. Now, when you weld two things together, their molecules are jumbled up in that weld where the weld becomes to the standard part, where it's solid and then it's welded. That area is a mix of molecules. When you cryo the part, all those molecules line up perfect again, all the way through the weld and all the way through the rest of the part. So the stresses are relieved and the component gets a whole lot more reliable, less cracking, stronger. So I really like cryo on every part. You can do it to crankshafts, you can do it to head studs, sprockets, CVs, CV balls, stars, all kinds of stuff. And if you combine that with a little bit of polishing, then you end up with a part with almost no friction compared to where it was before. So we always recommend cryo heat in Southern California. Josh LaHaye is a badass dude, and he's got a ton of parts that you can buy as the average guy, as opposed to only racers. You can just buy parts and bolt them on your car and take the advantage of having more lifespan and parts running colder. So I do like cryo.
Wide Max, Cummings Kyle, he's at the other shop.
Cummings Kyle, not here today. Sorry about that, buddy.
Darren Larson asks, how much does one of them welders cost?
So a good MIG machine, that's TIG, the MIG on the right, Chase. Follow along. Good MIG machines are going to be $1,500 to $2,500. You can take a look. Depends on the power. You can buy some that are under 1,000, but they're going to be low power. Typically, anything under 150 amp machine. This is a 256 amp. Anything under 150 amp isn't going to weld thick tubing. It's going to be kind of more thin materials. So if you're welding roll cages, I would say a 200 would be your minimum. When you get into TIG machines, it's all over the board. It has to do with power, has to do with accessories, whether it's got a pulser on it or anything else. We prefer Miller. We prefer Miller, but we've run Lincoln. We prefer, so let me back that up. We've run Miller forever. We've run Lincoln as well. Currently, we're running Lincoln on everything. They both have their goods and bads, and it depends on how much you're using it. We have air-cooled machines and water-cooled machines. We only run water because we can weld all day long. A TIG machine, 2,800 to 6,800, probably in that range. Just call it $3,000 to $7,000, somewhere in there.
You could buy a whole razor for that much.
We did get like 7 #no chases in a row.
And they're worth it because he so deserves it.
Yeah.
He really does.
This ties me into where we're at today, Justin.
What's that?
For the average consumer, what welder should they be wanting to buy, and then why do they need a welder with their UTV?
It just depends on what you're going to do with the welder. Because if you want to weld up your own roll cage, then I would say get something decent, 200 amp MIG or a 250 amp TIG. But practice and get good at it. Don't overheat parts. If you're just welding, workbenches, fence posts, stuff like that, you can use all kinds of stuff. You can use a 120, 150 amp wire feed that plugs into a 110 outlet. You don't need 220. But if you want to do good race car stuff, then you really should buy good equipment.
I got Ryan wanting to go live with us. Let's see if we could get him to connect on. Ryan, we're reaching out to you. Here he comes. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, Ryan, buddy? What part of the country you in?
Hey, hanging out in Italy right now.
Italy? That is not the U.S. Hey, man, that's pretty badass. Thanks for logging in.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I was just calling in. You're making my deployment enjoyable right now. I threw the race shirt on. Got to support you guys for Silver State.
He's got a race shirt, Justin.
Badass. Well, what are you doing in Italy, man? You doing some vacationing? Oh, yes, you are. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize which Ryan.
Yes, sir. Hanging out over here for the deployment. So.
Awesome, man. Thanks for logging in with the shirt and showing us the support. Hopefully, we can do you justice. We're gonna try hard.
You got any questions today, Ryan? Either way, we got another shirt we're sending to you.
No, I ain't got no questions today. I was just calling in. You guys, I always log in. Makes the deployment go by. Being able to see you guys and talk about UTVs.
Right on, Ryan. Thanks for logging in, buddy. Have a good time over there.
All right, I will. Be safe.
Thank you, Chase. An Italian login. So far, that's about the farthest one because was it Ecuador the other day or something like that?
I'm have to have him bring me back some pasta, Ryan.
Good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
You guys got questions off topic?
I
Or
do.
on topic?
Well, let's do one on topic. Autopilot MT, do you have to clean your welds with a metal brush when you are done?
So, no. When you are using a TIG machine, like this one that we were showing you, none of that has got scale on it. That is all natural. You can change the angle as you do this. The light is going to completely change what you're looking at. Okay, that is absolutely not needed to be cleaned. On the aluminum, you're never going to clean that. On the wire feed stuff, on this MIG weld, you're not going to clean that. The only time you're ever going to clean it after the fact is going to usually be with an arc welder where I don't have one of those here. I mean, really no fabrication shop's going to have one unless they're building gates or something like that, or something like a big, thick, 2-inch thick plate like ships. But that is using a flux core wire, and it leaves slag on the weld that you do have to clean up, especially if you're going to weld over it again. But with the stuff we're showing you, there's none of that.
All right, we got another live viewer, Mr. AsFM. What's going on, man? Hey, how's it going, man? Where are you at? What you driving? What's your question?
I'm calling in from Israel, actually.
Awesome.
Loving your videos ever since COVID. Been really enjoyable. It's the first time I could be live with you. So
Thank you for tuning in. That's really cool of you to do. It's all the way from Israel. Right on.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot about taking care of my machine and my shock and everything. So I'm driving a XV1K, and I was wondering if you would recommend doing a front sway bar because I don't have any, or upgrading my rear one.
So what's the terrain in Israel? I know you guys have a lot of dirt and desert trails over there from what I've heard. Do you have much for dunes?
We have some dunes, but not like Lamis and stuff like that. It's a lot smaller scale. But we have desert and we have trails pretty much.
Okay. Do you carry a lot of weight on the vehicle? Spares, maybe luggage rack, fuel, stuff like that?
I have a cooler which probably has like 5 or 4 drinks in it and a spare tire.
Not too much then. So on an XP1000, we would suggest to do the rear sway bar first. The reason is that the stock rear bar isn't very strong, and that car has a lot of body roll in its factory form. So I would suggest the rear bar first. If you were in the dunes more strictly, there's a lot more traction in the dunes when it comes to side bite in a corner, then I would suggest doing the front bar as well. But if you're just mostly dirt, rock, terrain, you don't have very much weight in the car, I think you could not do the front bar and just do the rear.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Send us your shirt size and color, and we will absolutely send you a shirt all the way to Israel.
Thank you. Very much appreciate it.
Thanks for logging in, man. Have a great day.
Bye.
Man, that's cool.
Very cool. Somebody signed in for it. We should have a map on the wall and just put pins in it from where everybody signs in. That'd be pretty cool. Eventually it'd be full, I guarantee it.
Darren's got another one too.
Here's Wilhelm Koster watching from the Netherlands.
Netherlands, very cool.
2-piece size.
How you doing, Wilhelm?
Let's see here.
You want it done or just a recap, Chase?
Let's do a little recap of everything we've talked about before we get to more questions.
Okay, you guys, here's what we're doing. We're talking about welding. We actually haven't talked about material. Remind me to talk about chromoly and DOM. But we've been talking about welding and fabrication and its different styles of welders. We've got wire feed welder, which is also called a MIG welder. You've got a TIG welder, which is smaller welds, more precise, cleaner dimes. If you've got, if you're welding on race cars, we would suggest mostly TIG. If you're really good at it, you could MIG weld a complete race car together, no problem. But usually MIGs are more for workbenches, things like that. And TIG machines are gonna be for perfect dimes and really quality fabrication. Kind of showed you a little bit about how to do it. That was like a crash course. You guys are looking at welding, then contact the other person that asked us a question who was a welding certified teacher, and let them tell you how to do it right. I'm more school of hard knocks, not school book when it comes to welding.
710 Oil 17 Hay from British Columbia.
British Columbia, that's cool too. We'll take that.
And we got more Israeli.
I'd like to see maybe somebody in the Bahamas, then I'll go down there and stay with them for a week.
I got Jordan, who's going to tune in with us live here. Mitch is going to figure out what other questions we got, and we're going to wrap this up here real quickly.
If Chase would stop.
Yeah, if Chase would shut up, we could.
Jordan, what's going on, man?
How's it going, guys?
Going good, man. Jordan, where are you at?
Central Indiana.
Not bad, not bad. Is there a bunch of mud over there, or is it mostly like trail we're riding kind of stuff?
We have this place out west, close to the Illinois border called the Badlands. It's half dunes, not like Michigan or Glamis, just a different type of sand, a bigger style sand, and then trails and mud.
Right on, man. What are you driving?
I just bought a 2020 Polaris Turbo.
Awesome. So Pro or Turbo S, or just a Turbo?
Not the Pro, not the S,
Okay.
just the Turbo XP.
Turbo.
The 64-inch wide.
Okay, cool. What shock is on it? Walker or Fox?
Walker.
Walkers. Cool. What's your question?
My question is, I've done just a few little very simple beginner's mods. It's my first side-by-side. What is a good beginner's first suspension modification?
Spring kit by far. That's going to be the number one thing you should do. It's easy because we can send it to you. You can put it on in your house if you have a spring compressor and some mechanical knowledge, then that's going to be a home run. You'll get your ride height back. It's going to ride smoother. It's going to stop some bucking. You can drive the car way harder through some big stuff. Number one, spring kit. Second, then go ahead and send us shocks. Let us do the inside, and that thing's going to get stellar after that.
Fantastic. I don't do any racing or anything, but I would love to do something to make it a little better.
Actually, you got a good point right there. We hear that a lot. People are like, I don't need the shock work because I'm not racing.
Right.
That's totally not true with what we do, because we make it ride better for the guy that's driving it every single day. So it sounds like you understand that, but a lot of people don't.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Awesome.
Thanks. Give us a shirt size and a color, and Chase will send it to you in Indiana.
Very cool. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, man. Have a good day.
Yep, you too.
Mitch, you got questions?
Yes, MG619, off the subject, you guys said you use Garmin GPS. What model is recommended?
So we don't use a Garmin, we actually use a Lawrence, and I believe we have an HD7 in the race car. Come around this side, or whichever side there, Chase, but you can see it on this side, bud.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So in the race car, we run an HDS7. We've got bigger ones, like a 10-inch diameter crossway screen, and bigger is better if you can afford it, especially when you're running through the bumps. You can't really see stuff when the screen's too small. 5-inch GPSs are not really good for racing. They're pretty good though for play cars, because you can see stuff when you're driving a little slower on a 5-inch. What else you got, Mitch?
John Tamila, what coating do you use on your chassis to keep from rusting?
So on our chassis, we use some black Cryo, but on all of our suspension, if you take a look at this stuff, which is what sees the most abuse on our race car, we're gonna run the Steel It coatings. So Steel It is more money, but it's much thicker. It puts up with a lot more abuse. It doesn't get chipped off very easy. Also, you can weld right on top of it. You don't have to sand off the paint in order to weld. Literally, throw something on it, like another piece of plate or a tab, and you can weld right over it, and then paint it again with Steel It. So you can do the whole chassis in Steel It. We just haven't done that on our car.
Chaser UAE, cast versus billet versus forge, strength, weaknesses, pros and cons.
On cast and billet versus on wheels.
Cast, you didn't specify.
Cast, billet, or forged. Well, I'm assuming it's wheels, because it's about the only place you're gonna get all three. So cast is the weakest. Billet is the one in the middle, and forged can be the strongest. Cast, they're pouring the material into a mold, it comes out and you're done. You can get different grades of material when you cast material. In billet, you start with a chunk and you whittle it all out, and you end up with the same strength of aluminum that you started with. That's super expensive and you have a lot of waste. Forged, you take a chunk of aluminum that's much smaller than the wheel, and it is pressed into a mold, into a die, and forged with pressure into the shape of the wheel. That forging makes a stronger material with a much more dense molecule packaging, and typically, if done right, forged wheels are the strongest.
Matt Burke, we know you love to steal it, you klepto.
Jesus.
Yeah, this is why we don't let Chase talk too much, man. He's gonna put his foot in my mouth just by him talking.
Colonel
guaranteed.
Sanders, what's shipping time right now, Justin?
Shipping time is actually 24 hours. We're not guaranteeing same-day shipping right now, but it will ship the next day.
Rogue 73, what rock guards do you use?
I'm gonna defer to Darren. Darren, which ones are we running today on our rock guards?
Rock blocks.
Rock blocks.
Rock blocks, yes.
So Rock Blocks builds a bunch of really bitchin' stuff. That's what we run on the race car. That kit on the back of this, basically to run a whole race and still survive. A lot of them don't. So we like Rock Blocks. Actually, on the back is a logo. Boom. What else you guys got?
RC Z71, I have a 2018 XP Turbo 1000, and I have Walker shocks. Top spring is compressed, but I don't have a smooth ride. What's the fix?
Okay, your fix for that is going to be a full spring kit. One of the reasons it rides bad is because that upper spring is compressed and you're basically riding on the stiff spring on the bottom all the time. When we go to our spring kit, it's going to be a full length upper that functions, so you're in a combined soft spring rate until you hit something really big and hard and it hits crossover ring, and then you get the stiffness of the lower spring, but only when you need it. So our spring kit, more ride height, way more plush, and it's still not going to bottom out like you might have going on in your stock kit. After that, if you like spring kit stuff, which everybody loves how they work, if you want more, then give us a call. We'll do all the shock internals, and then it's going to double what you got out of that spring kit. Shock internals are amazing, and we can tune it just for you.
Speaking of shocks.
Shocks, Darren.
Yes. There was a gentleman that asked if we have any dealers in the Middle East.
That's a really good question. I'd like to have you email Savino, because we've been establishing a few new ones, a couple in Dubai and in the UAE. If you email Savino at shocktherapist.com, and he will give you a dealer list of everybody in that area. And I'm going to talk to everybody who's watching in the UAE right now. If you guys have a shop yourself and you're working on all the UTVs, then give us a call. We'd like to talk to you and possibly vet a few really amazing shops out there to become kind of a preferred shock therapy dealer.
Garrett Leaf, going to call and order a race rack today. Do you guys still offer a discount for military and first responders?
Yes. So if you're ordering a race rack right now, do me a favor. Email sales@shocktherapist.com and let them know of your military status, first responder status, and they will send you the discount code you can use on the site, and you can get that right now.
Chaser UAE, greetings from Dubai.
Chaser, thanks bud. Hey, maybe you can recommend to us the best shops out there, and I mean from personal experience or some of your friends. If you guys have dealt with somebody out there that's awesome, we want to hear about it because we like to call them and see if they can install our products.
I would definitely listen to what Chase has to say.
No, that's Chaser, not Chase.
Not Chase.
Never listen to Chase.
Hashtag no Chase.
No Chase.
Alcala, what's a safe angle for axles on a 2020 XRS Max if I'm running BFG 32s? Not sure if I need limit straps on the rear.
So as long as you haven't changed the rear suspension in any way, the factory droop that's in that car is fine. You're not going to blow those CVs up even with 32s. On this car, we run the factory droop and the factory CV angle, which I think is 28 degrees, I think. And don't hold me to that. If it's not 28, it's like 31. But whatever the factory droop, factory shock location is, you can still maintain that droop even with a big tire.
Machambi Maverick Sport DRS dropped last night. Need to put my order in.
DRS Sport. Yes, get some of those spring kits, man. Mitch will tell you how badass that car rides in the whoops.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you'll like it. We like it a lot. Actually, we're thinking about getting one for a shock car. So, I'm done. We're out of here. If you guys don't have something super badass for a question really quick that we can't answer after the fact, then 3, 2, 1, out of here. All right, you guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for looking at the race car while it's clean before we beat it up in a race. Thanks for watching me learn how to weld again after a year. If you have any questions on our products, give us a call. 623-217-4959. I promise that is not my mobile. If you have the need to purchase parts, please, by all means, go to our website, shocktherapist.com, and we will take care of you as fast as possible and ship your parts out the next day. You guys have an awesome day. We will see you on Thursday for Throw It Out There Thursday. Line your questions up now.